Nanda Devi. Nanda Devi is the second highest mountain in India after Kangchenjunga and the highest located entirely within the country. Kangchenjunga, which is higher, is on the border of India and Nepal. It is the 23rd highest peak in the world. It was considered the highest mountain in the world before computations in 1808 proved Dhaulagiri to be higher. It was also the highest mountain in India until 1975 when Sikkim, an independent kingdom until 1948, and a protectorate of India thereafter became a part of the Republic of India. It is part of the Garhwal Himalayas, and is located in Chamoli district of Uttarakhand, between the Rishiganga Valley on the west and the Goriganga Valley on the east. The peak, whose name means Bliss-Giving Goddess, is regarded as the patron goddess of the Garhwal and Kumaon Himalayas. An acknowledgement of its religious significance and for the protection of its fragile ecosystem, the peak as well as the circle of high mountains surrounding it, the Nanda Devi Sanctuary, were closed to both locals and climbers in 1983. The surrounding Nanda Devi National Park was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1988. Description and notable features. Nanda Devi is a two-peak massif, forming a 2-kilometer-long, 1.2 miles, high ridge, oriented east-west. The western summit is higher, and the eastern summit, called Nanda Devi East, locally known as Sunanda Devi, is the lower one. The main summit stands guarded by a barrier ring comprising some of the highest mountains in the Indian Himalayas, 12 of which exceed 6,400 meters, 21,000 feet, in height, further elevating its sacred status as the daughter of the Himalaya in Indian myth and folklore. The interior of this almost insurmountable ring is known as the Nanda Devi Sanctuary, and is protected as the Nanda Devi National Park. Nanda Devi East lies on the eastern edge of the ring, and of the park, at the border of Chamoli, Pitaragar and Bageshwar districts. Together the peaks may be referred to as the peaks of the goddesses Nanda and Sunanda. These goddesses have occurred together in ancient Sanskrit literature, Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavata Purana, and are worshipped together as twins in the Kumaon, Garhwal and elsewhere in India. The first published reference to Nanda Devi East as Sunanda Devi appears to be in a recent novel, Malhotra 2011, that has the Kumaon region as backdrop. In addition to being the 23rd highest independent peak in the world, Nanda Devi is also notable for its large, steep rise above local terrain. It rises over 3,300 meters, 10,800 feet, above its immediate southwestern base on the Dakini Nanda Devi Glacier and about 4.2 kilometers, 2.6 miles, and its rise above the glaciers to the north is similar. This makes it among the steepest peaks in the world at this scale, closely comparable, for example, to the local profile of K2. Nanda Devi is also impressive when considering terrain that is a bit further away, as it is surrounded by relatively deep valleys. For example, it rises over 6,500 meters, 21,300 feet, above the valley of the Goriganga and only 50 kilometers, 30 miles. On the northern side of the massif lies the Uttari Nanda Devi Glacier, flowing into the Uttari Rishi Glacier. To the southwest, one finds the Dakini Nanda Devi Glacier, flowing into the Dakini Rishi Glacier. All of these glaciers are located within the sanctuary, and drain west into the Rishiganga. To the east lies the Pachu Glacier, and to the southeast lie the Nandaghanti and Lawan glaciers, feeding the Lawan Gad. All of these drain into the Milam Valley. To the south is the Pindari Glacier, draining into the Pindar River. Just to the south of Sunanda Devi, dividing the Lawan Gad drainage from the Dakini Nanda Devi Glacier, is Longstaff Col, 5,910 meters, 19,390 feet, one of the high passes that guard access to the Nanda Devi Sanctuary. For a list of notable peaks of the sanctuary and its environs, see Nanda Devi National Park. Exploration and climbing history. The ascent of Nanda Devi necessitated 50 years of arduous exploration in search of a passage into the sanctuary. The outlet is the Rishi Gorge, a deep, narrow canyon which is very difficult to traverse safely, and is the biggest hindrance to entering the sanctuary. Any other route involves difficult passes, the lowest of which is 5,180 meters, 16,990 feet. Rutledge attempted to reach the peak 3 times in the 1930s and failed each time. In a letter to the Times he wrote that Nanda Devi imposes on her votaries an admission test as yet beyond their skill and endurance, adding that gaining entry to the Nanda Devi Sanctuary alone was more difficult than reaching the North Pole. In 1934, the British explorers Eric Shipton and H.W. Tillman, with 3 Sherpa companions, Ong Parke, Pasong, and Kusong, finally discovered a way through the Rishi Gorge into the sanctuary. When the mountain was later climbed in 1936 by a British-American expedition, it became the highest peak climbed by man until the 1950 ascent of Annapurna, 8,091 meters, 26,545 feet. However, higher non-summit elevations had already been reached by the British on Mount Everest in the 1920s, and it is possible that George Mallory reached Everest summit in 1924. It also involves steeper and more sustained terrain than had been previously attempted at such a high altitude. The expedition climbed the South Ridge, also known as the Coxcomb Ridge, which leads relatively directly to the main summit. The summit pair were H.W. Tillman and Noel Odell. Charles Houston was to be in place of Tillman, but he contracted severe food poisoning. Noted mountaineer and mountain writer H. Adams Carter was also on the expedition, which was notable for its small scale and lightweight ethic. It included only 7 climbers, and used no fixed ropes, nor any Sherpa support above 6,200 meters, 20,300 feet. Eric Shipton, who was not involved in the climb itself, called it the finest mountaineering achievement ever performed in the Himalaya. After abortive attempts by Indian expeditions in 1957 and 1961, the second ascent of Nanda Devi was accomplished by an Indian team led by N. Kumar in 1964, following the Coxcomb route. CIA mission. From 1965 to 1968, attempts were made by the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, in cooperation with the Intelligence Bureau, IB, to place a nuclear-powered telemetry relay listening device on the summit of Nanda Devi. This device was designed to intercept telemetry signals from missile test launches conducted in the Xinjiang province, at a time of relative infancy in China's missile program. The expedition retreated due to dangerous weather conditions, leaving the device near the summit of Nanda Devi. They returned the next spring to search for the device, which ended without success. As a result of this activity by the CIA, the sanctuary was closed to foreign expeditions throughout much of the 1960s. In 1974 the sanctuary reopened. Subsequent climbs. A difficult new route, the Northwest Buttress, was climbed by a 13-person team in 1976. 3 Americans, John Riskelly, Jim States, and Louis Reichardt, summited on 1st of September. The expedition was co-led by Reichardt, H. Adams Carter, who was on the 1936 climb, and Willie Unsoeld, who climbed the West Ridge of Everest in 1963. Unsoeld's daughter, Nanda Devi Unsoeld, who was named after the peak, died on this expedition. She had been suffering from diarrhea and flare-up of an inguinal hernia, which had shown up originally on the second day of the approach march, and had been at 7,200 meters, 23,600 feet, for nearly 5 days. In 1980, the Indian Army Corps of Engineers made an unsuccessful attempt. This was followed in 1981 by another Indian Army expedition of the Parachute Regiment, which attempted both main and eastern peaks simultaneously. The expedition had placed a memorial to Nanda Devi Unsoeld at the high-altitude meadow of Sarsanpatal prior to the attempt. The successful attempt lost all its summiteers. In 1993, a 40-member team of the Indian Army from the Corps of Engineers was given special permission. The aim of the expedition was multifold: to carry out an ecological survey, clean up the garbage left by previous expeditions, and attempt the summit. The team included a number of wildlife scientists and ecologists from Wildlife Institute of India, Salim Ali Center for Ornithology and Natural History, Worldwide Fund for Nature and Govind Ballabh Pant Institute for Himalayan Environment and Development amongst others. The expedition carried out a comprehensive ecological survey and removed from the park, by porter and helicopter, over 1,000 kilograms of garbage. Additionally, 5 summiteers scaled the summit: Amin Naik, Anand Swarup, G. K. Sharma, D. Darsing, and S. P. Bhatt. Recent history and conservation. After the reopening of the sanctuary in 1974 to foreign climbers, trekkers, and locals, the fragile ecosystem was soon compromised by firewood cutting, garbage, and grazing. Serious environmental problems were noted as early as 1977, and the sanctuary was closed again in 1983. Currently, Nanda Devi forms the core of the Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve, which includes Nanda Devi National Park, declared by the Indian government in 1982. In 1988, Nanda Devi National Park was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site, of outstanding cultural or natural importance to the common heritage of humankind. The entire sanctuary, and hence the main summit, and interior approaches to the nearby peaks, are off-limits to locals and to climbing expeditions, though a one-time exception was made in 1993 for a 40-member team from the Indian Army Corps of Engineers to check the state of recovery and to remove garbage left by prior expeditions. So Nanda Devi remains open from the east side, leading to the standard South Ridge route. After a sustained campaign by the local community as reflected in the Nanda Devi Declaration of 2001, the core zone of the Nanda Devi was open for limited eco-tourism activity in 2003. In 2006, the campaign invited women trekkers from 4 countries during the inaugural trek inside the national park. As a follow-up, the Campaign for Cultural Survival and Sustainable Livelihoods has now designed an interpretive trek to the Nanda Devi National Park. An interpretation center on biocultural diversity of the Nanda Devi National Park is under development in the village of Lada, the gateway to the Nanda Devi National Park. A maximum number of 500/seasoned trekkers are now allowed to enter the core zone Tildarancy between the months of May to October. The trek to Nanda Devi National Park starts from the village of Lada, located 25 kilometers upstream from the town of Joshimath on Niti Malari Highway. 2021 flood. On February 7, 2021 it was reported that a portion of the Nanda Devi Glacier broke away, causing the Dhaulagiri and the Rishiganga rivers to flood. One dam at the Dhaulagiri hydropower project at Reni village was destroyed and another suffered a partial collapse. Initial reports said 9 people were dead and 140 missing. Water levels on the Alaknanda also rose.